bring to order the Dune City Council regular meeting Wednesday, April 10th, 2019.
Time?
Roll call, please. At 6 o'clock. Thanks.
Mayor Forsyth,
Here.
Council President Meyer,
Present.
Councilor Wells,
Here.
Councilor Snow, here, Councilor Mallon,
Here.
and Councilors Montgomery and Orr. I have not heard anything from. I really kind of thought Councilor Orr would be here.
He still might stumble in depending on how long their line is, right?
Right.
Well, they might be flooded in something.
Yeah, that's true. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I'd take a, all right, now I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's consent agenda is passed. Announcements and correspondence.
I'd like to remind the City Council and Planning Commission members that their Ethics Commission's filings are due before April 15th. So if you have not gone online and done that, please do so. I meant to check to see if any of you hadn't before our meeting tonight, but we're in backup right now, so.
Mine's
Mine's done. I haven't gotten any panic emails from the Ethics Commission. They usually do.
Oh, do they?
So, yeah. So, I haven't got anything, so that's a good sign. The Siuslaw School District is looking for input on citizens' views on education and education facilities. Residents are encouraged to take the survey at bit.ly/Siuslaw survey. And I do encourage you guys to provide your input. Dune City is looking for volunteers to help out with the 7th annual Dune City Triathlon Duathlon. Volunteers are urged to register early because they're filling up, but we still need more so that they have the best chance to get their first choice for their assigned location. The Walling Lake Association is holding a cleanup day of Clear Lake and Canary Roads on Saturday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Those wishing to help should meet at the Honeyman State Park boat ramp where they can get materials, supplies, and safety vests. The Florence Roundup of Household Hazardous Waste will take place on Friday, April 12th from noon to 5 p.m. and on Saturday, April 13th from 8 to 2 p.m. Visit the City of Florence website for more details. For the record, please show that Councilor Orr did arrive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I apologize.
The public hearing on an ordinance to adopt new flood damage prevention code has been canceled until further notice. By way of explanation, we need the ordinance would adopt the new maps. The new maps aren't anticipated to be actually finalized until September. Nominations for Volunteer of the Year are open. Forms can be downloaded from the website and turned into City Hall before May 31st, 2019. Or you can pick them up at City Hall and take it home and fill it in. And for the record, Councilor Montgomery is now here. Dune City is looking for a permit tech as a result of Denise leaving on March 25th. And if you are interested, please submit your resume to City Hall before April 30th. A budget committee meeting has been scheduled for Tuesday, April 30th at 5 p.m. at City Hall to begin consideration of the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. I was informed that Councilor Snow and Budget Committee member Snow are not going to be available for that meeting, so we may want to consider an alternative date. But we do need to get something on the calendar so we can get moving.
All right, is there any citizen input into items not discussed in public hearing or on the agenda?
There is no one signed up.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, can I ask a question
Yeah.
about one of the announcements? Since Councilor Orr is here, the Siosla School District Survey,
Yes.
I've tried to take that 4 or 5 times, and each time I get one question further, and it kicks me out.
Oh dear.
So I
Okay.
wondered, is there some way to let someone know that, or?
I will go in and have a look at it.
Okay.
Because I set it up using a school district program, SurveyMonkey. So I'll see if I can figure it out, or maybe Andy G can help because he knows that system real well. I had not heard that before, so I'll see if I
It
can
could be
find
me,
out.
but every time I go in, unless we
Oh.
get one question further, and after
Okay.
about 45 minutes, I say.
Oh,
Are your library fines paid yet?
yeah.
Might be name recognition.
It could be. I didn't know, but I just thought I'd ask the question, you know.
That's not a universal problem, because I took it and I didn't have any problem.
You didn't have any trouble. Okay. All right. Well, I'll take a look.
Could
Thank
be
you.
me.
Apple?
No,
Mac? Or,
that-
okay.
yeah.
I got
Thanks.
that on my app.
Oh.
All right, thank you. Public hearing. So I will now open this agenda item for public hearing at, I can't read, is it 6:06?
Yes.
For the benefit of the citizens, I'll read the ordinance title into the record. An ordinance amending Chapter 91 of the Dune City Code of Ordinances entitled Nuisances by adding a new section, 93.03C,
91,
or 90, what they say?
93, I said
91.03C, prohibiting the feeding of deer, raccoon, bear, coyote, cougar, wolf within the city limits of Dune City. Wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming.
Oh, they recommend-
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the ordinance?
No one signed up.
Okay. So I will now close the public hearing at 6:07. Councilors, if desired, I would entertain a motion to continue the matter to our next regular session to allow for time for consideration, if there's any. Nobody cares to move it forward? All right.
No.
Hearing none, I would entertain motions to amend the language of ordinance 251 as presented,
If any.
if any.
Make a motion to enter ordinance 251 into the record as written.
Second?
All right, now, I have a second reading.
He kind of
Okay,
jumped forward just then, so
say what?
he kind of jumped forward just then.
Okay. Anderson, a second, discuss each, yeah. If any motions made, second, discuss any discussion on this amendment, once the amendments are considered and passed.
There weren't any.
Right. I'll now entertain a motion to have the second reading of ordinance 251 by title only.
That's the one he jumped, he skipped
Right.
over. Yeah.
I'll do the second reading of ordinance 251 by title only. An ordinance amending chapter 91 of the Dune City Code of Ordinances entitled Nuisances by adding a new section 91.03C prohibiting the feeding of deer, raccoon, bear, cougar, coyote, and or wolf within the city limits of Dune City. I will now entertain a motion to accept the wording of ordinance 251 as presented or as amended, and to adopt the passing of ordinance 251.
I make a motion to accept the ordinance number 251 as written.
Shelley, it would be better if you said, are you the one that seconded it?
Second.
All right, there you
No,
go.
who was it? Okay.
Third? Doesn't matter. Second?
Arm wrestle over who's second.
Third?
Okay, ordinance 251 as amended is hereby adopted and will become effective May 10th, 2019.
Ordinances take roll call vote.
Do they? Okay.
So, Counselor Orr,
Aye.
Counselor Mallon,
Right.
Counselor Wells,
Yes.
Counselor Meyer,
Yes,
Counselor Montgomery,
Yes.
Counselor Snow.
Yes.
Thank you.
New.
I would like to,
Sure, please.
I would certainly like to make sure that we have enough publicity on this happening so that people aren't blindsided. And I don't know if we've got a newsletter slated before then, before it becomes effective or not. And I'm glad that we have both television and newspaper here, but I'm not sure everyone here pays attention to those two things or either of those things sometimes. So I just want to make sure that we somehow get that out to people.
Be our first.
All right, new business. Mayoral proclamation. Whereas more than 80,000 reports of child abuse or neglect were made in Oregon between October 2016 and September 2017. And whereas child abuse prevention is a community as well as a personal responsibility, and finding solutions depends on the involvement of all citizens. And whereas communities must take steps to promote programs that benefit children and their families. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs are more likely to succeed when there are partnerships among cities, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, and business community. And whereas everyone in the community should be more aware of child abuse prevention while assisting parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Robert Forsythe, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 to be Child Abuse Prevention Month in Dune City, Oregon, and urge all citizens to work towards to help reduce child abuse and neglect in the years to come. Consideration to offer the property owners to accept donations of realty. You want to go through that, Jamie?
Yes, Rosalind Birch came in the office and wanted to know if the city would be interested. She has a very small piece of property over off of Hellcat Trail and wanted to know if the city would be interested in accepting that property as a donation. I didn't know. So, in your packets, you'll see the map. The second page of the packet is the map with the property circled and the size. There's information regarding it. And I also contacted our attorney and he emailed back. And that's the response you'll see there about the warnings that go with it.
Right.
So I was going to leave that up to you guys, what you guys want to do.
Is it under new business?
What,
Yes.
it's under new business.
Yeah.
What about the adjacent property owners?
Oh, you don't have a new business?
They attempted to contact them already, but they never received a response. So it didn't appear that there was any interest.
Well, the thing I have, the issue I have with donating things is like sometimes getting donated a float. You know, it's the cheapest thing you could do is have a boat and it gets expensive thereafter. I'm not, I mean, I saw the maps, but it doesn't clear to me because of knowing the area real where it really is. Is it?
The one thing that they explained is that it is up. A lot of that area is
Oh, okay.
drainage down, but in this case, this particular property is higher up than the others.
And if I remember reading, it's 0.11 of an acre,
Correct. Which is
so it is kind of teeny.
That is a small lot.
we have actual dimensions on the width,
I don't know if you
Are
can
we
see it.
seeing
I
it?
do in the office. Let's see. Does it say feet or does it say chains? It says feet. So they are impossible to read. 50 feet. 50 feet by 100. It's 50 by 100.
not as tiny as I thought, but still pretty.
It's not big enough to put a house on, which is why they weren't interested in it.
Do we need another city park? Is there a purpose for it?
The only thing I can think of is another spot to offer for a cell tower. That's the only thing I can see.
And if there's houses around it, then they wouldn't put a cell tower on it.
Yeah.
No, that's where they want the cell towers, is where they want them in residential areas, which makes it difficult because who really wants a cell tower in the backyard, you know? But this is
One
right,
that looks like a tree.
I know. It's always green.
Isn't there a regulation that has to be so many feet away from a structure?
Probably,
But a cell tower?
probably, I don't
And I
know.
don't think this would meet that.
The offset might be. might be big enough.
There are no houses down there. It's all the land around there,
Oh, true.
down at that end. I mean, the closest thing to it is the Boy Scout camp.
Oh,
So it's down
I
in.
think the closest house is the one back up on Frumenade.
But yeah, it's a street over,
oh, okay.
and there is no road to get to this lot. That's part of the problem too. There is a gravel driveway to a house that goes
Yeah.
down and then just back toward the lake.
Okay.
But this one doesn't have true access that I can tell. But as he pointed out, you really need to get a title search done. You probably should have the corner marked so you know where it is. And those are expenses that go with it, so.
And if you got a cell tower, it would hamper anybody who owned land around it.
Yes,
Putting up
yes, it would. Well, could.
Because I'm sure I read their distances and I'm sure it's more than that.
I'd probably go, that's not what that I have read, but then what they give me is the one, contact us.
Sheldon?
It seems like in one of the last meetings, we had some information from the Boy Scout camp that they're in the dead zone for radios or phones or
Yes,
something or other, so maybe something that would enhance the availability for them to make contact if the kid was in trouble seems to me to be a really, really good use of that piece of property, if that's
if
something.
it can be used.
If it can be used, yes.
I have some experience of people installing cell phone systems. It would be advantageous to the local area. It's heavily treed. It would need to be a tall antenna. It would propagate well across the lake if the property is anywhere near to the lake, and it would provide definite advantages to people out boating on the lake wanting to use cell phone service. It would probably provide coverage over as far as Ada quite easily. So, and they're usually a revenue source. Most cell phone towers contribute some funding to somewhere.
It just seems to me like this would be worth pursuing.
Another consideration might be, rather than, I don't know, I was thinking maybe we should talk to the ham radio guys there. Maybe they would like to have another relay station or
It's
something.
not loud enough.
what
I am a ham radio guy, and it's not loud enough.
On the
That's
high.
all.
They,
I would like to investigate first what setbacks are required from towers and things like that, so that we know going into it. I mean, I don't want to accept it without knowing that we have a use for it, and if a tower is a good use for it, that's fine, as long as we're not devaluating anybody's property around it unintentionally by setting something there that is going to affect their setbacks, you know, if they decide to build a house or something. I don't think.
The other possible use for it is put a cyclone fence around it, seeing how it's 50 by 100, and use it for equipment storage. You know,
Or emergency supplies or something.
anything like that.
Yeah.
Use it for
Or a place to feed the deer.
a deer feeder. I like it.
The deer park.
Deer park.
Getting cooler preferably.
Didn't take long to decorate either.
Well, I'm in conjunction with you, I would like to know what we could do with it, but it just seemed like there's some possibilities that
Yeah.
are well worth pursuing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not making a whole lot of dirt anymore, so you always need to look at it, I mean, seriously.
Well,
But yeah,
that was my first question, is it would cost probably around $500, maybe not quite that much to get the corners pinned,
Mhm.
so that we can identify exactly where it is and what kind of parcel it is. I could even have Richard go in and clear some of it if you wanted to
Just
see
to-
what it looked like for.
But I want to make sure that we're not negatively impacting anybody
Right.
Yeah.
See the proximity
before
to
we
local businesses.
accept it or reject it.
Before the survey, yeah, I would do the paperwork and figure out, like you said, the setbacks and all of that stuff, and not spend $500 until
Right.
we know if it's any good, and
Yeah.
that'll come next step.
Tom and I were just looking here, it looks like there is a price to this, we don't know what, but from this paperwork, it's a purchase, not a gift. Now, what was did you have a verbal understanding, or are we misreading
No, it was
something?
supposed to be a gift to us, but there would be costs associated with, we would want to protect ourselves by making sure, number one, we knew where it was exactly.
Right,
And number two, that there are no liens on it.
but that sounds different from what we're looking at.
That's a letter to another person that they were trying to ask to buy it.
Oh, I see.
That letter.
Yeah, that's a copy of the
Okay.
letter proving that they tried to
Yeah.
I see,
contact the
okay.
neighbors.
Okay, fine,
And the neighbors never responded.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, so we can move that forward until we get further information.
Okay.
Thank you. So tell us about the Education Expo.
Okay, I have something for you to look at here. You would pass these down and perform as you go. The Sayusla School District has created the concept, and we are moving forward with the concept, of having an Education Expo on February 29th next year, so a little less than a year from now. It'll be at the high school, and it will be, the concept is to have lots of different organizations in the community that educate and have them show what they do. So there would be a lot of different tables with organizations ranging from a very small one like a camera club to the Boys and Girls Club and other larger organizations. The idea is to just bring together all the different educational opportunities in the community, including the schools, of course, and invite all the citizens of the community to come and see what's available. So we're not just trying to appeal to people who have kids. We want senior citizens to come and see what's available educationally to them as well, and hopefully really get a large turnout of people in the community. So and I've looked at, there's probably as many as 90 different organizations within the Sayusla School District that do some sort of educating. And so we have talked to some, and we know that some are already interested, including the schools, police department, Sayusla Valley Fire and Rescue, the PTA, Sayusla Vision, Sayusla Outreach Services, the Amateur Radio Club, and there will be a lot more. We're just kind of moving slowly at this point. We will be inviting a number of dignitaries, and of course we put the Dune City Mayor at the top of the list. Where else would you be? We will also be inviting, oh, by the way, the governor. But, you know, if you can come, Mayor,
That'd be much more
that would be quite
impressive.
sufficient, yeah. So the idea is to have, be from 10 to 2, so from 10 to 12, people can come in and visit the tables, learn about what's going on, see demonstrations. We'll have a lot of kids involved. And then at about noon, we'll have some brief introductions by the dignitaries. And then there will be lunch available, probably for a small purchase price, but I'll talk to Kiwanis and see if they want to do something with their hot dogs. And the culinary department of the high school will prepare snack foods, cookies and things. The bands will play, the choruses will chorus, and we will even have probably the big crane with the flag on top that just makes it look so awesome. We have some partners already, and they are the district, of course, Iosla Vision, PTA, KXCR, and of course Aspire at Iosla High School. We are looking for the two possibilities from Dune City. One would be to have a table there, because of course Dune City and City Hall do educate people about what's available in the area and what Dune City is and does, but also to consider having Dune City be a partner. And a partner doesn't cost any money. We're not looking for donations here. That's why we're not calling them sponsors. We're just trying to lend credibility and the fact that this is a community-wide event within the entire Iosla School District, which of course includes Dune City. So we have a website, we have, and it's being worked on, and we are putting together a small steering committee, and I'm quite excited about it. I think it's going to be an awesome event, and it is really just to bring the community and the schools together in a sort of collaborative effort. Everybody on the same page working toward the same goals. That's the idea.
Very good. Sounds like a great idea.
So my request is that the council consider having the city of Dune City be a partner and to be listed therefore on whatever literature and advertisements we have. And then at a later date to consider, or no, to consider having a table there so that people can come and learn about Dune City.
Right. Any discussion?
We have a lot of kids in Dune City that go to school at
Yes.
Iosla.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'd really like Dune City to be included, because a lot of people tend to think, oh, Florence schools and Florence, but it's really not. It's much broader than that.
I think it's important to be a partner myself. I think it's a good idea.
Great.
I'll second
Wonderful.
Cool. Do we need a motion of any sort, or just plan on it?
I thought we just had one.
There we go.
Just did it? Do you need an all
Motion
favor?
was just made.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All
Thank
in
you.
favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed?
Great.
Get your library file statement.
Show my professor on
That's right. All right, no executive session.
Or give the book back.
Yeah, give it a look. Yeah, it's probably worth a lot of money now. Come to think of it. All business. Consideration of AMR plans for replacement of water meters to radio read water meters, those nifty tools.
Yes, Pat Hart came and did a presentation. He went back to put together the package of the breakdown of dollars and discovered that he has authority to, rather than limit that to 12 meters for the same price, purchase 24 meters. So he amended that, and I would like approval to go ahead and enter into the contract. The first year is estimated to be about a $20,000 expenditure. We have budgeted $20,000 for this purpose for 3 years in a row now and haven't spent it yet, so.
Think of the interest we've made.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Now, don't have it, we now have
2.67
60
cents or
bucks.
something, yeah.
Did it happen?
So,
Have we,
I'm
got-
asking for a motion for this one, yes.
have we gotten any other bids or any other information?
I just want the one that Florence uses because they're local and the local contractors work with it. I just found that to be, I asked some of the local contractors about these other companies that I had been talking to, and they'd never heard of them before and didn't know, and I just felt more comfortable. It may even be more expensive, but I felt more comfortable going with a known track record on something that I know nothing about.
I did a brief search at lunch today, found another company, and I have no history on it. I mean, it's what's on the internet. You can ask my French boyfriend, according to the commercial, right? French model. Anyway, I found one that was quite interesting. They're $70 for the meter. They're actually internet capable. So you just read them off the internet. It all goes onto the cloud. You don't even have to send somebody out.
Are they local?
No, the cloud is all over.
well, yeah. You know, like I said, I did this at lunch while I was cramming my face, so.
Well, if you want,
um,
if you want me to check into it more, that's certainly reasonable.
And are we supposed to get 3 bids for a project of this size? Is that part of our rules?
I don't know, I'm trying to figure that out, because right now, no, it's not,
Oh,
it's not, at 50,000, you don't have to. It's 100,000 is the threshold where you have to.
oh,
In between, there's another step where it's kind of a contract and
So
kind
what,
of not.
as a procurement officer, it's, municipalities are at 100,000 for formal RFPs and RFIs. At 50,000, you're supposed to get 3 bids if 3 bids are available from it, or if you can write up a justification for the use of that particular vendor. You know, so this falls under where we can legally choose a vendor. I'm more lean towards using people that are close to us, like the city is using. My main thing with them is if you start to get, why I kind of like using whoever Florence is using, not because of Florence necessarily, but because of Mike Miller or the people that have to deal with it. If we start to have problems with a particular vendor, they're probably a wealth of information about that vendor and about that equipment and stuff that we can really glom onto and not have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
But if you want more,
I'm not concerned.
Bids,
I'm not
certainly
concerned
say no.
with it. How about the rest of it?
I'm not concerned with it. I like the idea of keeping it local. I like that.
I have a question, Jamie. Again, this would provide equipment to homeowners or to,
well, the city would be required to replace meters that have already been paid for. So if you have a meter installed, that means you've already paid for it. And so the city would be replacing those. But in the meantime, any new bills with new water sources that are part of the program would then be paying the new price for the new meter, paying for a new meter instead of an old one. The old ones would just be replaced. And the only time that I can see where there might be an issue is for those few homes, and there's very few, that have the larger size. And to me,
Or that they're under the house.
well, that's another issue that we still have to work out. I mean, they paid to have it installed and everything, and now if we have to move it to the outside of the house, which we would,
Sure.
there's an additional cost associated with that, and I'm not sure what it would be. I'm still trying to figure that out.
What I like about it is that entering into our water issues, on another topic in there on the water issues, part of the problem is getting those meter readings. And those meter readings would be easily accessible and not using this material or using this equipment compared to waiting for people to get back to us. I think the water readings, as we had this special meeting on, is going to be very, very important in our fight with the state over water rates. And this way, we're not reliant on the homeowner to be there, go down, read their meter, get it correctly to us. We'll be able to do it ourselves, rapidly and accurately,
Right.
is my big thing.
I think that even strengthens our case for what we're arguing as far as
Yes.
water rights go.
I agree.
2.5 years ago, I put in my water meter, which is a census meter. I went bigger than Dune City required. I went 1 inch instead of 3/4 inch. And it is installed in my crawl space. I do read it, not every single month as I should, but I do read it at least quarterly. I do not feel that the city should pay for me to get another water meter when I just bought one 2.5 years ago. And I bought the exact meter that Dune City told me to buy. And I just can't see the taxpayers or the residents of Dune City paying to have a meter put either under my house or outside of my house when I'm providing the readings. Now, if somebody is out of compliance, then yes, then I think that's where this program makes sense. But to mandate all existing meters be replaced, I'm not for that at all.
Even if the city's paying for it?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, as long as as long as you were one of the ones that complained about having to do it because it was so difficult. But that's what triggered this whole conversation, was the fact that we have older residents in their crawl spaces and they can't get down there to read them. And it was trying more to be convenient for our citizens than for the benefit of the city, other than it does make it much easier for the city to do the reporting. So,
I can appreciate that, and like I said in previous meetings, a person, if they're not living on site, can always hire a kid to go read it once a month, and report the readings. I'm not in that situation. I happen to live there. My complaint was having to do it every month, but if it's every month, then fine, it's every month. I'm just saying, I complied with what the city recommended that I buy. I did it. I bought bigger, and I'm turning in my readings. I'm in compliance, and I just don't see why the city would have to pay for anything in my situation.
Bob, any thoughts?
I think it's a good step forward. I think there are going to be individuals like Tom who may have recently done something, but I think overall, I like the idea of moving toward this standardization and electronic concept. Basically, I think it's a good idea. I understand what Tom's saying, and don't certainly want the city to be paying for things that are extra, but I don't think that we can take individual cases and look at them in that sense. I think we need to look at the broader scope.
So maybe the broader scope then would be on a going forward basis when you issue permits, that they be required to have one of these electronic meters. That I totally understand and agree with. And I think people that are out of compliance, for whatever reason, whether they're not living here, it's a vacation home or whatever, if they're out of compliance, then that would apply. But it just doesn't make sense to do it any other way, in my opinion.
I'm totally in favor of this. I think it's gonna make more of our citizens happy than however upset Tom is.
Alan?
I am for the concept. I think we do need some sort of measuring. I'm reluctant to go into it with somebody because somebody else uses it.
Sure.
A company. You know, with the cloud and the internet and FedEx, nothing's more than 2 days away. I would do some more research, maybe look at a different company. This was a really interesting, if you wanted to look at that, and found today. Like I said, and the company we're looking at is proprietary. It's 20 years with them. If you get something that's read off the internet, people could, within reason, choose their own meters as long as they fed the information to the internet, to your computer, in the correct form.
In the correct format.
I
Yes.
would be interested in seeing that, because that was what I was originally proposing and calling and asking to people about, but they'd send out their reps and they'd get here and they'd see these trees and they'd say, there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, who knows?
Yeah.
That new cell tower could help.
Almost everybody's got internet too.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. Well, not really, but okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie probably wants
Yeah.
Susan,
Pass that one,
what's your thoughts?
One of my thoughts is this proposal goes directly to the more costly of the 2 meters.
Mhm.
Was the second, the other meter even looked at? Why did they include only the higher cost meter?
Well, they included the middle cost, there was one higher than that, and there was one lower.
Or they brought
That's
us
why they
two?
brought them all in, and, yeah.
Right, but they only showed 2 of them to us. And
Now, he didn't even bring them the highest cost one here, he said there was one more.
that's why I'm saying, they
Yeah.
showed us 2. This estimate is for the higher cost one.
Mhm.
Why is that?
Well, whatever he said was,
Was much longer lasting, as I recall.
No, they both
Wasn't it?
last the same amount of
Oh,
time.
did they?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea.
but there's like a over $25 difference between the 2
Hmm.
meters, so I just wondered, is this just him? I just wondered who decided on which meter, that's all I was asking. Because I think that would be good information to have. Because I think that's a choice we should make.
Sounds like to me we need to do more homework.
Hate to do it, but I think we should table this for some more research.
Let's be, since we've been going on this for so long, let's be specific about the research that we would like to see, so that we don't stumble into doing this again.
Again and again and
I
again.
think part of mine is the application of it. I think Tom's point is valid, and if you have a newer system and you are turning in your readings like Tom is, I don't think you should have to take this new system and install it. I think there's a place for it to be applied with folks that are encumbered or not have the ability to get it or vacational, that kind of thing there. Look into that, so we can put that into the stipulation when we
And
accept
new
this.
installs.
And then that Alan brought in, I think we need to look at that material that you brought in also.
The only, well, one, not the only, but big concern I have with that, just on the face value, is that it is on the internet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't like the fact that it's on the
No.
internet. So that's just my bias against putting more information out there. There's, I mean, we could go into a total conversation on the internet, but let's take a look at it. What else do we need to, Susan,
Mhm.
your comment on pricing.
Which meter?
Yeah, let's make sure that we hit that one.
And I have a question about these smart meters and the radios and that sort of stuff. It almost sounds to me as though, and this is an answer I'd like to get, is that even if the meter's under the house, it seems like you could keep the meter under the house if the radio frequency would get out from under the house and do what you want it to do.
Right, they mount the radio on the outside of the
Yeah,
house.
something, I mean, it just,
Yeah.
rather
It
than,
only had to be with like, I don't know, 170 feet or something.
as I said the last time we talked about this, there's probably half of the houses around this lake, or these lakes, that people don't live in. At least year round, you know, they're here maybe 2 months in the summer and that's it. And, you know, the ability to have the good data to report to the state so that we don't lose our water rights, to me is absolutely critical.
I'm on board with that 100%.
But I would really like to, and I know you're pressed for time, Jamie, but I'd really like to resolve this at our next meeting. I think it's very important for the fight that we're gonna deal with the
Yeah.
state. And I really don't wanna continue another year without
No.
getting something
I
resolved.
think we need to do it.
Yeah.
Do it correctly.
Well, the biggest expense is the computer programming and that. The
Of sort, yeah.
meters are nominal compared to the
And
rest
that's
of it.
usually the case with anything electronic.
How does the PUD do it? They use some 900 megahertz system.
It's the same company.
It is.
They have different levels and different things, and they do
Yeah, they
Eugene and
drove
Springfield, they
down,
do a
I think,
whole
and
lot of places.
Well, they don't even have to drive by UD.
Well,
No,
UD,
they get
not
it
at the water.
Oh, yeah.
We're not gonna have to have a mural on the side here,
A little,
I hope not. I hope not.
small, with the poster cost 50 grand.
You have the grade school kids doing it.
Contract with legal services, John?
All right, yeah, we're gonna get into some expense.
City of Florence.
Oh, did I skip one?
You did.
Oh, yeah.
Did you? Oh, yeah, City of Florence policy on social
Social
media.
media.
I don't know if anyone has had an opportunity to look through it or not, or if there is even a desire to establish a policy to this effect, or to just wait until CIS comes out with it, because we all know they will. That we have to adopt anyway. So, it's whatever you think. I have no time to do social media right now, so it really doesn't matter.
My biggest concern, again, is what the cost of man hours and everything else to try to keep up with social media today. It's not easy for a city to do, and quite honestly, it's like writing a check. I mean, it doesn't matter how many zeros you put on it, it's just that quick, and just because it's small does not make social media easy for a municipality to maintain and then update. And quite honestly, the more you do, the more that is expected. So I'm not really big on it yet under our circumstances with staffing and budgeting. So I'm reluctant to head down that road at all.
And I agree with the mayor. Does that scare you?
Yeah, really. I need to refocus again. Maybe I like social media.
What was missed?
Anybody else?
Yeah, my only point was the time that Jamie has to deal with it. That was she's very busy.
I'm with you.
Nobody seems to be too excited about that.
We already have a website for giving out information. I don't see why we need
Anything?
to go on Facebook or Twitter or.
I haven't realized. All right, consideration of contract with legal services.
As discussed in the town hall on water, there are some issues that need to be addressed. The permit, which is actually now considered to be a transfer, that moved it from the city diverting 1.4 CFS to the city allowing other people to divert a portion of the 1 CFS, and all these different diversion points added to the transfer, added to the order to change everything. Not everybody is on that list, and there are mistakes on the list that need to be corrected. And Susan leaned over to me during the meeting last week and said, we need to get those points of diversion corrected immediately. Well, that requires, it definitely requires an engineer, but in this case, she says if we open it up, there's a good chance Water Watch will jump in. And so she strongly recommended that we have a good, strong water right attorney to do it. So I contacted Ross and asked him who would he use, and surprisingly, he would use Laura Schroeder, who is a personal friend of mine, has been for years. So we work well together. We've worked together for years, so on the project. So I got a hold of Laura, and this is what she sent. But it is still up to you. There are other water law attorneys in the state. I just would have to figure out who they are.
From our past, I'm comfortable with this 8 pages of document. You gotta have that one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And we need to have this coverage.
we do.
Well, yeah, we do, I believe that we need that assistance because I think, just like with our deal with the third-party issue, I don't think this board is gonna go quietly into the night on this topic. So I think having an attorney and one that Ross recommends, I think is probably a good idea because if he's recommending her, then they'll probably work closer together and it's not a bad thing because it's probably going to cross over when we get into this heavily. And I don't know her, but if Ross is willing to go down that road, then I think that's a good idea.
Agreed.
Do you need a motion or?
Yes, because I need approval, I need permission to sign the agreement.
To sign the agreement.
Okay.
Any further discussion before we do this? Okay, entertain a motion to have Jamie enter into this legal services contract.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So, thank you very much. Yes, Jamie, go ahead and get into that. Clarification on that, on the topic. I heard when we were here in the special meeting, I heard, what's the lady that was here? Susan. At some point say 2020, and then at some point I heard her say 2022. Is that my hearing, or is that her?
No, we have 4 different permits,
Oh, okay.
and all of them have different expiration dates.
Okay.
Some of them are more difficult, there's gonna be a hard decision coming, because the one for municipal use, that's when you need to make a decision whether the city is actually going to bite the bullet, find funding, and put in a citywide water system.
That won't happen.
And
but
so
good.
we'll get that, and that's probably the 2022 one,
Yeah,
so.
but, okay.
I
It's,
don't think so, no, the 2022 is this one, I think there's another one, I think it's beyond that.
as we get into this, if you would either forward to us before the next meeting, what the 4 those are, what they're going to, because I'm starting to research with the state on what I think we should do and what we shouldn't do and what the rules of this are. And just as a side, my take on this is Susan is sitting there telling us the rules, what boxes to check and all that, and that's great, and that's her elevation. I have a problem with the law in the first place, and you know my opinion is that's why we invented whiteout. So I want to attack the process and the law itself rather than Susan, because she's just doing her job and checking those off. So I want to take it a little bit step further. And in their logic of water that is no longer going to be applied to us, instead it goes down to the sea. You know, and they're not going to suck it up in a truck and take it to Southern California. So I think it's time we take some of these laws, ordinances, and things that were written in the early part of the 20th century and start making them come to reality in this 21st century.
What surprised me is she started the meeting out with the state owns the water in these lakes.
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
And
Yeah, no, we do.
to me, it's the
I
people.
mean, if you're not.
But so she
social,
made
we do.
a real point of that,
Yeah.
and it bothered me.
Yeah,
Uh,
they work for us.
whatever.
So, well, no, I don't disagree with your philosophy on it, absolutely. So I think we need to take that to task.
Question.
Well,
In the past, what I have seen Ms. Schroeder do is she would want to introduce herself.
Oh, absolutely.
So are you okay with her coming down from Portland to
Sure.
and talk to you a little bit, and you can ask her those questions?
And you have to be nice
Very
or she'll
frankly,
quit.
she's a farmer from way back.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm actually looking forward to it. We're 1 for 1 so far.
Is she coming down here at $150 an hour to visit with us?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen her in a while. And I could offer to take her and Scott crabbing or something.
We can
We'll
telecommute
see.
cheaper.
Tell me
Yeah,
exactly.
that's true.
No.
Skype, there you go, that's the correct.
But if I can get her to pass through, because she does a lot of work in Nevada,
Yeah.
and, just a little side tour.
All right, reports. I don't have anything other than maybe some a personal aside, is that I think we're not, I'm still not positive whether with Arnie and Patty researching things for us, whether we're still gonna live to be a city through the end of the year or not, how we set it up. But personally, what I'm doing is, I'm assuming that we're going to, so I'm doing a lot more research into some of the state laws and some of the things that we're talking about, and I'm gonna head down that thought process. And if it works out, we are, then we are, and we'll be, dealing with that sort of thing. If we're not, well then, it's still knowledge, and it's not lost knowledge. But I just want to let you know that personally, that's where I'm headed with it, and that's what I'm doing with some of my free time.
Thank you.
Councilor Wells, how's the community center?
I haven't had any phone calls, but I did notice that in this nice dry season we're having, the front needs cleaned, so I'll get on the gutters again.
No, I kind of like the pool out front.
Yeah. Those people in the valley are getting it, aren't they? Boy.
Yeah.
Water quality.
Oops, I have the wrong name on there.
Yeah, you did. But since you did, what's the water quality? High?
No, actually, we've been working on inventory here in the office.
Oh.
And so I asked the guys to inventory the water quality committee equipment, so that I can make sure it gets covered by insurance in the event of some horrible action. Because we've got some stuff that's on loan from the state that's pretty pricey. So they did that. They did the inventory, and I have the inventory list now. So moving forward. And I don't know when.
Susan, are you on that?
Is it?
Uh-huh.
All right.
We didn't do any quality checking in April, but in May we'll start checking both lakes. We have a second crew going to go out and check Silkus, as well as the crew that does Wahoo.
Excellent. Yeah, probably not a good month to get out there in a boat. You have to bail as you drive.
Yeah.
I was out there yesterday on a kayak, and there was clear evidence of algae in Silkus. Clouds of it just drifting through underneath as I was paddling, so I was a little surprised.
Yeah, you kind of want to think about that during sunny
Yeah.
portions.
Yep.
My father-in-law had a really good idea. He says we should drain the Silkus Lake and hire goats to go eat everything and then fill it back up. But then he's 92.
Is that age or IQ?
Yeah, no, he's very bright. Public Works,
The biggest thing has been, has been the rain. Can't really do anything with the training. Not much is happening along that avenue. We're just, haven't even had a chance to sit down together and decide what projects we want to work on for this coming year. I usually make a grant application for something. She told me last year's grant application I submitted one for Alder, not Alder Drive, Alder Court, and for Parkway Drive last year, and we did not get funded for that, but we're still on the list to get funded if funding becomes available. So we'll see what happens.
and I see you went to the emergency services.
Yes, went to Wheelock, and Megan gave a presentation on their work prep, what they're doing downtown. It was a very short meeting, so there really wasn't a whole lot going on other than getting ready for the expo.
Oh. And then your reports.
8 permits issued in March. We're still getting telephone calls. Someone hacked our computers and took our interested parties list off of the front computer, the admin computer. Our computers are not networked. And so we completely deleted all that information off that computer And then I built a new interested parties list on my computer under a different name. So hopefully those will eventually peter out and it will stop. But there's not anything we can do about it because it isn't really coming from us. If you look at where it's coming from, one I saw was from a dentist office in New Jersey. You know, they're coming from all over. It has all been reported to the FBI through that system, and so they have all the information for what it's worth. I don't know if they'll find anything, not find anything.
Well, my bills are getting cheaper than when they're sending. I guess they keep lowering it, hoping I'll take some.
That could be. Well, we did get a phishing scam. We were told that they were gonna lock us out if we didn't pay $1,000 by
Oh, wow,
close of
yeah.
business on 2 days, but it didn't happen, so. We are looking to hire a permit tech and an admin assistant in the office. The admin assistant is 10 hours a week. Permit tech is 32 hours a week. And if anybody is interested, or if somebody would like to volunteer to come in and answer the phones and cover the front desk for a couple hours, that'd be great. We'd really appreciate the help. Again, you're reminded about your ethics filings if you haven't done it yet. We expect to get a report on the passive energy vertical evacuation facility from the university. They wanted to come tonight, but everybody's in the middle of doing whatever it is they do this time of year, I guess finals and all kinds of activities going on, so no one was willing to come over and talk to us about it. Did attend the Northwest Regional Managers Meeting in Florence on the 21st. Let's see, Budget Committee, oh, we need to talk about that. Budget Committee, do you want to go ahead and try and schedule it? Because we have so many openings on the Budget Committee, it makes it very hard to get a quorum
Yeah.
when we have 2 people missing.
Yeah, and if both Snows can't be here, then we probably ought to push it out to first week in May or something like that.
Okay.
Is that better?
We will be gone the 25th of April through the 7th of May.
Okay, so.
Second, we should have
We'll
all the
reschedule it.
packets, just a second.
Yeah, like the
Tenth
10th.
it is or something.
So it,
Is Jamie gonna reschedule it and notify us all, or are we gonna try and come up with a date now, or?
I'd like to try and come up with a date now so that because I have to publish notice. We're at that point where I'm going to be presenting the budget and the budget message and all that stuff, so. And is there a day of the week that is better than others? Because once we get started, it's every week until we get it done at the same time, on the same day.
Any day's good for me.
yeah, me too.
Tuesdays are bad for me.
Tuesday bad?
Yeah.
Bob?
Just a scattered appointment here and there, but for me, most afternoons are okay after, well, the later, the better in the afternoon, obviously, but, so 5 o'clock is better than 4, but whatever works, I can be here.
Sheldon, anything that's bad for you?
No, that comes right up.
Okay. And we, let's see, you'll be here, Susan, for the 8th
I will be here for the 8th.
on the meeting. Do we want to do it before the next council meeting is on May 8th, if I'm looking at this right?
Mhm.
So do you want to do it like
Could do that.
the hour before?
That'd be real good.
Yeah,
So do like 5 o'clock on May
Yeah.
8th?
yeah.
That sounds
Do you
good.
think an hour will be enough?
I don't think
I
an
think
hour's
the
gonna
first
be
one's
enough.
Hmm?
I don't think an hour's gonna be enough.
Okay,
4 o'clock.
I'm good with 4. I mean,
Okay.
I can be late at 4.
Okay, all right.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday,
Thank you.
Second one.
second Wednesday of May, just before the council meeting. Works for me.
So we moved it to May 8th at 4, right?
Yep. All right, good of the order.
I have 3 things.
Oh, well, hurry up.
I haven't finished my report yet. Wait. Of course, we're still looking for volunteers. So, what we have discovered is an alternative procedure for sale of city real property. Normally, when a city sells a piece of property, they have to comply with state law,
Right.
which opens it up to anybody and everybody. So for the roadways in the Silk Coast Lake subdivision, that's not gonna work because they are accesses. So the alternative is set up through state statute, which says the city can adopt an ordinance and set forth the process in specific, for specific things. So I'll be working with Ross to get that set up so that we have the ordinance, and once we get the ordinance, then we can move forward on those. You saw the letter regarding the complaint we received. I don't know if you want me to put that on the record or not. If you do, I will.
The rooster?
The rooster complaint.
Yeah, the rooster.
It'd be good to have it on the record.
Okay, we received a complaint from a Dune City resident who happened to have property for sale. They had interested buyers. The buyers came over with the realtor, getting ready to sit down to sign the paperwork. She had set the chairs up outside on the front porch because it was one of the few sunny days that we got. And the neighbor's rooster started crowing the entire time. People said, we can't stand this noise, and they lost the sale. And so, I didn't know, at first I had heard about it, but then the next day, the actual property owner came in, and she's furious, and so are the realtors. And so she signed a formal complaint, put her name on it, and I have now responded with a letter to the property owners asking them to find other housing for the rooster that would not allow the noise to travel across property lines.
Was a frying pan suggestion?
No, I did not suggest any means by which to relocate the rooster.
But it's, I mean, we make fun of it, but still, you know, it's called the country.
And then the other thing I have is there has been movement on the third-party building official.
Yep.
The Department of Justice has issued an opinion that basically says that they don't think it's a direct, immediate conflict
Very good.
or constitutional violation for a city to do that, but cities probably don't have the authority to do it without legislative authority granted. And so I believe we're going to see the placeholder bill that is currently in place massaged to address those issues. I'm hopeful it's coming down right now. I received a call from Ally. They had asked if I please send a letter to both Senator Rowland and to Representative McEwen, and I did, which you also have copies of.
Good.
That's it. That's all of my good of the orders, I think.
Councilman Moore? Bob?
Oh, I'm sorry, no,
Good of the order.
nothing more, thank you.
Tom?
About the water rights coming up, I'd just like to let the citizens of Dune City know that I believe that this battle that we're going into with the state is going to be the biggest thing. Since I've been up here, it's going to be bigger than the third-party building inspector, it's going to be bigger than the marijuana problem that we had, and bigger than the septic issue that we had for years. It's going to be a real battle. But I truly believe it's one worth fighting. I think it's for a lot of reasons, it's a big overreach by the state coming down on us after 50 years of doing business a certain way, let alone all of the folks, I don't know the number, but all the folks that have had water reservations, to tell them they have to have them developed in a certain amount of time or they're no good, I think is completely out of bounds, and I'm ready for the fight. That's it.
I agree.
Very agreeable.
I thought I'd try it.
See what it's like.
Read about it.
Parents told you about it once?
I think so, yeah.
No.
Yeah, water fight's gonna be fun. I would hope if the state's throwing all these rules at us, maybe they're gonna throw some help at us. You said you don't ever see a water system coming in, but as we develop out, I'd sure like to see one.
Oh, agreed, and we had plans for it some years ago, still have them. There's some major difficulty factors with them. They did get money,
Had funding.
right, had funding,
I remember some of that,
but
early
it's-
90s.
but it was, some of the problem was, it's like when I was at the university, to get the funding to build a building, and they built the building, but then they didn't have any funding to maintain it, so it was never occupied. So there's a lot of issues that go behind it, and I believe, again, that's me, there's several ways to skin a cat and several ways to consider something a system. So we'll play with that too.
Nothing further.
If there's no further comments, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Right.
We're adjourned.
For the record, 7:10.
Quick and painless?
For the record, 7:10 PM.
Yeah, I can't see the clock.
Clear on.